Ties Between Dimensions Chapter 1 in a New Yet Familiar World. In a grassy area, a battle once again was being waged between Eggman and Sonic. Laser blasts from a large walker robot whizzed past the blue hedgehog as he ran. This was business as usual for both Hog and Human, as they have been doing this for several years. Every time, the Hog was the victor. Despite going through trouble, near death, emotional turmoil, and strife, he always had a smile on his face.
Huh? Catch me if you can, you annoying little pest.
The doctor then had a large grin on his face as he looked at the glass container within his large machine. Contained in it was a Chaos Emerald, one that Eggman had acquired during his travels. Eggman pressed the button above the container.
Get a load of this!
A blast was fired at Sonic. Though Sonic tried to dodge it, he was too slow and got hit by it. The hedgehog let out a scream, and he was surrounded by blue light. Eggman shielded his eyes from the intense light, which was too intense even for his round blue sunglasses. He grinned. When the light had diminished, Sonic was gone. This perplexed Eggman. He at least expected to see him lying on the ground unconscious, or even dead. But there was nothing. He shrugged. Sonic was no longer in his way. That's all that mattered. Sonic was slowly coming to, but his vision was slightly blurry. He looked around and saw that he was in a forest filled with tall trees. They appeared to have duller colors than he was used to. The hedgehog didn't quite feel like he was truly awake, like in a daze or a dreamlike state. He then spotted a blue streak speeding by. Wait, blue streak, speeding by. What was going on? Isn't he the blue speedster? This confused Sonic. The last thing he saw before blacking out once more was a pair of red and white shoes similar to his own.
Mom, he's waking up.
Be quiet, Sonic. He's probably still tired.
Sonic! But I'm Sonic!
Sonic thought, and he opened his eyes. Standing over him was a human woman with dark skin and a blue hedgehog.
Huh?
Sonic tried to get up but felt a sharp pain within his body. It wasn't centralized in one location of his body, but rather it was everywhere, though he did feel it mostly in one of his legs. The woman gently pushed him down.
Easy there, bud. Just lay back down. Brave.
Sonic nodded and complied.
Who are you? Where am I?
I'm Maddie Wachowski. This here is my son, Sonic.
The smaller Sonic grinned and waved. He wasn't hearing things earlier. This child in front of him shared his name and his likeness. He looked much younger than himself, maybe 12 or 13 at the oldest. And there were slight differences in his physical appearance, such as his arms and eyes. But there was no mistaking that this had to be some other version of himself.
You're at my house in Green Hills, Montana, on Earth. I take it you're not from Earth, right? This space hog like my son.
Actually, I am from Earth. Well, another Earth, I guess. I'm Sonic! Sonic the Hedgehog!
Sonic replied. Both of the figures blinked.
But I'm Sonic. Wait, you said another Earth. I just read about this in a comic. Are you an alternate version of me? Do you have powers too? Can you run fast? How fast? Not faster than me, I bet. Where's the fur on your arms? Did you shave it? Are you older than me? I'm 12. Almost 13.
The other Sonic rambled. Sonic just stared. Did he talk this much?
Sonic, slow down.
Sorry. Got a little carried away.
Sonic had already been thinking of answers for the questions posed to him by his other self.
It's fine, but yeah? I guess I'm an alternate version of you. I have some sort of power and can run fast. I don't shave my arms. I'm 15, so yes, I'm older than you. As for who can run faster, well, let's find out in a race later.
Much later. Your right leg and several ribs are either bruised or broken. No running or racing, you man.
Oh man, I hate sitting still.
Sorry, bud.
Maddie smirked.
So, how did you get here?
Well, Wachowski, can I call you Wachowski?
Yep, or Blue Devil. Anything works.
Well, Wachowski, I was fighting Eggman as usual, and he shot me with some sort of laser beam. It hurt, like really hurt, and I blacked out and ended up here. It must have been a portal or something. Maybe he used Chaos Control.
Wachowski and Maddie tilted their heads.
Chaos Control.
Oh, well, there are these things called. Actually, can I tell you later? I'm kinda hungry.
Maddie chuckled.
Oh, let me guess. You want a chili dog?
How'd you know? You one of Eggman's spies or something?
Maddie laughed again.
No. My Sonic loads them too, so I figured you might as well.
Can I have one too?
Maddie smiled and rubbed the boy's ears. Wachowski smiled and let out a satisfied sigh.
Of course, my little blueberry.
Instantly, Maddie's blueberry looked more like a tomato as he blushed.
Mom, I want to look cool for other me.
Both Sonic and Maddie laughed, though Sonic did so with much difficulty due to his broken and bruised ribs.
I'll go ahead and make lunch. You stay here and rest.
Maddie instructed. Sonic nodded in response. After some time, the chili dogs were ready. Maddie brought in a tray to Sonic, who was now sitting up. He grabbed one and took a bite.
This is amazing, Maddie.
Glad you like it.
Both hedgehogs were eating their chili dogs and conversing.
So, there are 7K's emeralds, like the Dragon Balls.
What are those?
Oh, it's just something from a show I watch a lot.
The two hedgehogs soon finished their meal. Sonic sighed.
I can take this. I need to move to something.
Sonic, you've been here for less than an hour.
It feels so much longer.
She sighed and chuckled.
Can I show him around town?
If he's up to it. Sonic, can you stand up, buddy?
Sonic stood up, struggling. He tried putting weight on his broken leg, which was in a cast at this point, but felt a sharp and intense pain.
I could probably walk with some crutches or something. You have those?
I might still have the ones from when my husband broke his leg earlier this year. They're adjustable, but it's a bit tricky to figure out how to make them shorter or longer.
Maddie laughed.
Sonic found them and tried using them. It was so adorable.
Wachowski blushed.
Anyway, let's get them for you, Big Me.
Maddie, needing to run some errands anyway, volunteered to drive them into town. Wachowski sat in his booster seat, something that perplexed Sonic but mortified Wachowski, and Sonic simply sat next to him in the back, despite the elder hedgehog insisting he should sit in the front. The drive was filled with trees and forests for the first portion. Wachowski pointed out each path that he ran and the stories that went with them.
That's where I first met Crazy Carl, and that's where my cave was.
He exclaimed. Sonic nodded as he looked out the window.
Very cool butt.
He said, somewhat distracted. This world looked similar to his own, or at least the more urban portion of it. Yet, it had its own distinct flavor. The trees and foliage had less vibrant colors. For example,
Other me, look, it's my school. Well, it will be soon. It's complicated.
School. What's that?
It's a place where you learn stuff and meet new people.
I think I just learned stuff through life somehow.
There's the school's baseball field. I play on the Little League on that same field too. It's awesome.
Sounds pretty cool, but
Wachowski continued pointing out things along the way until they reached the grocery store. Both hedgehogs got out of the car along with Maddie.
Alright, I'll probably be done in about an hour. Meet me back here or text me when you two get done with your little tour.
Maddie instructed. Wachowski smiled and gave a mock salute.
10 for Mom.
Wachowski grabbed Sonic's hand and dashed into town.
whoa.
Sonic exclaimed, grabbing his crutches with one hand. Soon, they were in the main strip of Green Hills. The boy was excited as he pointed out every nook and cranny of the small town.
There's the flower shop, the clinic, and that's where Dad works. Green Hills Police Department.
Your dad's a cop.
He's the sheriff. Everybody loves him, except when he gets them in trouble.
Wachowski giggled. Sonic smiled, despite hating having to hobble on crutches. He felt so slow, like a turtle or something. It was infuriating. As they passed the bar, a disheveled older gentleman stumbled out onto the sidewalk.
Hey, Crazy Carl.
The eponymous Crazy Carl turned to the hedgehogs. He blinked.
Two blue doodles.
Oh, this is my big brother. His name is Maris.
Sonic turned a shade of red. He most despised the name that the younger hedgehog chose for him, but he said nothing, not wanting to blow his cover in front of this strange man.
Nice to meet you.
Carl forced a smile, despite not believing what he was seeing.
Nice to meet you too. Horace.
I'm just showing him around town, pointing out all the hot spots.
Well, I was just about to head back to my cabin. Have fun.
Crazy Carl walked off, presumably to his car. Maris turned to Wachowski.
So, that's Crazy Carl.
The boy nodded.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun times together.
The two young hedgehogs continued walking through town. Wachowski seemed very excited to be showing his counterpart around town, and even the simple things such as the gas station and the other flower shop were highlights on the tour. Sonic just followed, taking everything in.
Seems like a nice place.
It is. I love it here. There's always something new to find.
The elder hedgehog smiled at the boy's enthusiasm. Wachowski's phone then rang, and he glanced at the screen. It was Maddie.
Hello?
Hey, sweetie, I'm almost done at the store. You guys want to run back to the car?
Oh, maybe you should pick us up. Bigmy kinda got a little nauseous when I dragged him along.
Sonic looked over as he heard these words, a slightly angry expression on his face.
I did not.
Maddie chuckled, hearing the elder Sonic in the background.
Where you guys now?
We're in front of the donut shop.
Okay, I'll be there in a few minutes. You can get some donuts if you want.
Got it. But Mom, love you.
I love you too. See you soon, sweetie.
She blew a kiss over the phone before she hung up, and Wachowski put his phone away. He then turned to Sonic.
Want some donuts?
Maddie and the boys were soon on the way home. Sonic looked out the window, watching the town pass by, and as it transitioned back to forest, he pondered over this new world. It was similar to his own, yet different. The sky was still blue. The clouds and sun were still there. Even the plants, with their dull colors, looked remarkably similar to the foliage on his world. Yet, the life of this other Sonic was completely different. He lived with a family, played sports, and was going to go to school. His life seemed normal. Had this Sonic even fought his version of Eggman yet? Sonic looked over at the boy currently enjoying a donut and a juice box and smirked.
Nah, this kid wouldn't hurt a flea, let alone a panic.
The car ride was awfully quiet compared to earlier when Wachowski was talking his ear off. The only sound he heard was the radio as it played a rather lavish song. The singer's croons filled the hedgehog's ears. Everybody knows my name. I got fortune, even fame. I snap my fingers for a dame. There ain't no man that I can't tame. The world is hanging on my string. I even grabbed that big brass ring. There ain't no song that I can't sing. Believe me, friends, the glamour don't mean anything. You've got a home and a family? Well, you've got much more than me. Much more than me. That last part made his chest tighten slightly. He had never heard this song before, yet it connected with him in a way the other tons had not, as if the song was about himself. He swallowed, fighting back the tears. Hearing this, the younger hedgehog turned to Sonic.
You okay? You're not gonna pook again, are you?
Sonic snapped back to reality, looked over at Wachowski.
Huh, no, I don't get her sick.
He replied with a chuckle. Overhearing this, Maddie smirked.
Sonic sometimes falls asleep during car rides, especially after baseball practice.
Maddie said. Wachowski blushed a deep red.
I do not. I just lose my eyes for a bit.
Wachowski replied. Sonic chuckled, his attention still somewhat on the song as it faded out and the voice that sounded like a cheeseball announcer took its place.
That, my friends, was Everybody Knows My Name by Frankie Valli in the First Seasons, one of their underrated tunes. We'll be back with more after a brief commercial break.
The disc jockey on the radio quipped as the song ended. Sonic took a mental note of the song's name. Maybe he could find it in his world or something similar. They soon pulled into the driveway. At the same time, a car bearing the insignia of the Green Hills Police Department was also pulling in. Wachowski nearly jumped out of his seat to look out the window, tail wagging.
Dad's home. Dad's home.
The boy cheered. Maddie parked the car, and Wachowski quickly got out, appearing as a blur as he dashed from the car to the driver of the police vehicle, nearly tackling him in a hug as he got out of the car.
Dad?
Wachowski exclaimed, his tail wagging. He nodded as the man stood up. Wachowski in his arms.
Who's that?
Sonic asked as he got out of the car.
Tom, my husband, he actually met Sonic first. They've gone through a lot together.
Sonic nodded in understanding. His attention then turned to the groceries.
Need help carrying anything?
Sonic, you were injured. I can handle it.
I insist. I can at least carry 1 or 2 bags.
Maddie sighed.
Fine, but be careful.
Sonic grabbed 2 bags from the trunk and hobbled inside as Maddie got the rest. Tom passed by her, holding Wachowski.
Need some help, Vance.
Tom offered, setting Wachowski down.
I got it, Tom.
Maddie said as she fumbled with the bags, almost dropping 1 or 2. Tom sighed and took 2 bags from Maddie, lightening her load a little. He then proceeded to walk inside, with Maddie following.
By the way, who's the new guy?
I'll explain later.
So, the Sonic from a different dimension.
Tom asked for clarification. The Wachowski family and Sonic were now sitting down and enjoying dinner together. Sonic nodded in response to Tom's question as he finished the bite of pot roast he was on.
Yeah, it's a bit different than yours.
So?
Well, for one, it's much more colorful.
Tom nodded in understanding.
Second, It's almost always under attack by this mad scientist named Dr. Eggman.
Egg and must mean that robotic guy.
Robotic? Haven't called him that in ages.
Wachowski took a sip of his chocolate milk.
So, you fought him too?
Yeah, well, probably not exactly the same guy you went up against. I fought him a bunch of times, and I always come out on top.
Well, that's so cool. I only fought him once. He's on some sort of mushroom planet now. And as far as the government is concerned, he no longer exists and never has.
Sonic couldn't believe that this innocent child had ever fought someone as dangerous as the Mad Doctor. Then again, he had only fought him once in his life. For him, it might have still seemed like a game. He smirked.
No longer exists and never has, huh? Wish my world was that lucky.
They continued conversing throughout the meal. Wachowski spoke about the tour he gave Sonic, including their encounter with Crazy Carl.
I still don't like the name you gave me, Marys. Really? Where did you even hear that name anyway?
Wachowski shrugged. Soon, all of them had finished eating. Maddie got up and went straight to cleaning up, with Tom's ahead of course.
Need any help?
I think we got it, Reese.
Don't tell me that!
Tom, Maddie, and Wachowski laughed a little at Sonic's reaction.
Sorry, but seriously though, they can handle it. Don't just sit down in the living room and get Selwyn for movie night.
Wachowski's face lit up as he smiled widely.
Let's show him my favorite movie.
Tom sighed, chuckling.
Sonic just saw Speed for like the 1,000th time last week.
I know, but Big Me hasn't seen it, please.
Fine.
Tom smiled and scratched the boy's ears.
So how about you make us some popcorn when they can get Selwyn?
Alright, Dad.
Wachowski dashed to the pantry and came back with 2 packs of popcorn. He put them both in the microwave as Sonic hobbled over to the living room and sat on the couch. About 10 minutes passed, and all 3 of the Wachowskis soon joined Sonic on the couch. Maddie set the bowl of popcorn on the coffee table. The younger Sonic was seated in between his counterpart and Maddie. Tom picked up the remote powered on the television, and then went to a thing called Prime Video, where the movie Speed was proudly displayed under Recently Watch. Wachowski's tail wagged upon seeing the thumbnail for the movie.
Press play, press play, press play.
Tom chuckled.
Come down, bud. The movie isn't going anywhere. It's not like it's Speed away.
Both hedgehogs groaned in response to that punishment of a pun. Tom smirked before highlighting the movie and pressing play, allowing the action on the screen to commence. For the most part, aside from the noise of the movie, it was great. Wachowski would occasionally run around and try imitating his favorite scenes in addition to quoting his favorite lines such as,
Pop quiz, hot show. There's a bomb on a bus. Once the bus goes 50 miles an hour, the bomb is armed. If it drops below 50, it blows up. What do you do? What you do?
Wachowski exclaimed as he stood on the couch. He flopped down into Maddie's lap, smiling.
Such a classic line.
Sonic chuckled a little at the boy. His attention was just as much on the movie as it was on his younger counterpart and his family. As the film went on, Wachowski was visibly getting tired. He rested his head in Maddie's lap, and she responded by scratching the boy's ears. Sonic didn't want to admit it, but he too was starting to feel exhausted. The whole day had taken a lot out of him. He shifted his focus from the movie to the happy family beside him, causing his chest to tighten. Was he jealous of this Sonic? As he drifted off to sleep, his thoughts went back to the song he had heard earlier. You've got a home and a family. Well, you've got much more than me. Much more than me.